If you have any dignity, apologize to the
podcast.
おい、その子を離せ。
こんなガキ、ひねり潰してやる。
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Apologize to the podcast where we get to sit around and geek out about some movies, TV shows, anime, video games, all that cool stuff. I'm Tyler. I go by Jalaman22 on YouTube, and with me I have
Shane. I go by Sonoski_Otaku on Twitch and by Sonoski on YouTube.
And also with me.
And I apologize for not being here last week. My legs were really sore.
A boulder fell on top of them.
Yeah, sure.
You know what? Honestly, I think those are just lame excuses.
I was working over at work.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, you may recognize my voice because I'm AJ from the Don't Ignore Me YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we're sitting here. We got our Japanese teriyaki chicken meals ready. I even have what is called Hong Kong tea. It looks more like coffee. But we are ready for our 6th episode where we're going to actually be talking about what year is it? The 1986? 1987?
I think so.
Yeah, the 1986 anime movie Fist of the North Star, which is pretty much a retelling of the first season or two of the anime show?
It's hard to explain, really. It kind of is the first season or first two seasons or whatever, and they just changed the ending to it. And
oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna give away a spoiler. If you want me to spoil it a little bit, or
we can spoil it after.
I mean, I can't explain too well without giving spoilers.
Okay.
You know.
Well,
basically, it's a movie.
Yes.
It is
a movie
a movie
we're watching. Thank you, AJ.
Yes, it's the movie adaptation of Fist of the North Star, which was a huge anime series in the 80s, and also it had is it 2 or 3 different reboots, or just the one reboot? Because I know we had New Fist of the North Star, which came out.
I think there's like 1 or 2, maybe?
Okay, so there's a couple different animes. Of course, there was a live-action movie with Michael McDowell, which we'll maybe get to one of these days. I need to find a copy of it. I know that over at Spoonie Experiment, or Spoonie 1, he had a poster up for it for a long time. Didn't you do a review of it, AJ, for the Fist of the North Star live-action movie?
As far as I know, no. And I feel like I know his filmography pretty well, so I don't remember saying that.
So if there's any errors, we'll get a red flag. So anyway, we're looking forward to this. We're going to cover what I consider kind of the not precursor to Dragon Ball, but it's a very Dragon Ball-esque series, probably without the Toriyama humor. So it's been a while since I've seen this. It's been a while since I've seen this Japanese, anime movie of it. I saw the American one like once on TV a long time ago, and I didn't know what it was or what it was connected to. I just thought it was kind of like a Hercules ripoff or a Conan ripoff.
It was on American television.
On HBO.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it came on randomly back when I had cable. So my experience with the series is I've seen a couple of episodes, and I've seen this movie and the live action movie like once. So it's been a while. I remember enjoying this movie, but we'll find out what my thoughts are after we're done watching it. Shane, what are your experiences with the Fist of the North Star
I've watched
franchise?
everything and played the games and read the manga and everything, so I'm pretty...
You are a fanboy.
Yes.
And what about you, AJ? Do you have any prior knowledge or experience with the Fist of the North Star franchise?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those series that you hear a lot about, but I've actually never seen anything from the franchise. I literally know almost nothing about it besides.
What's wrong with you?
Hey, well, we're gonna fix fix that now, so I'll actually watch some stuff from it. But
okay.
But hey, I mean, it's good to have a newbie sometimes. Let's see maybe if it'll make sense to me. We'll see.
Yep, see if it makes a fan out of you. And I'll go ahead and say that real fast. I do remember the movie. It is a perfect gateway to see if you want to continue with the franchise. Yeah. It's kind of a good little tester demo of the series. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and watch Fist of the North Star, and we'll come back and give our thoughts on the movie and see what we think of it.
Apologize to the podcast. We'll be right back.
Burr, burr, burr.
最終戦争が全ての文明を破壊した世紀末。バイオレンスの荒野に澄んだ瞳を持つ男が舞い降りた。一子相伝の暗殺剣北斗神拳が大スクリーンに炸裂する。生きるも地獄、死ぬも地獄。修羅となりて悪を打つ北斗の剣。
Oh boy. Okay, well we just finished the anime movie version of the TV show of the manga of Fist of the North Star. That was fun.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun.
I mean, in a way, I guess.
So this was Shane's pick for this week. So yeah, that was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say.
I've learned a lot of things about you based on this.
What'd you learn?
That you're a very violent man.
Well,
I'm just kidding. But yeah, well, the thing is, he's been telling me for years about all the anime he likes, and I've never gotten a chance to really sit down and watch any of the stuff. And he's always said, I'm saying he as in like you're not in the room with me, but you've always said, hey, I like this stuff where people explode and there's violence.
I used to like anime like that. Not so much anymore. It was a phase, okay?
It's a phase.
We all go through that teenage violent like, oh man, look at the blood, man, like. They wouldn't show that back at Disney movies back when we were kids.
Oh.
So this is new and edgy, and I'm rebellious against my parents.
I don't know about that, but...
Well, I think that was the polar opposite of what it was. But so I don't really know much about this, so I'll kind of turn the floor mostly to you, Shane, when it comes to Fist of the North Star.
Do you have any trivia about this movie?
Oh, yeah.
I do have the wiki page. So it says, written by Baro-san. So I guess that was a one-trick pony, one-name writer. I guess the Madonna of the manga world. Where he just had one name. So it says it was serialized in Shogun, Weekly Shogun Jump.
Shonen.
Shogun.
Shogun.
Oh no, Shogun Assassin. Shonen Jump. And it was brought over for its English adaptation by Viz Media, so... Same people who do, like, One Piece and Naruto and Bleach and Dragon Ball and all that good stuff. So, yeah, good company. So, of course, this movie is the condensed version of the TV show, which explains a lot of the plot holes and very strange things going on in this movie. Which we just watched the trailer right after watching the movie, and it's talking about how every 10 minutes there's going to be a battle and some action and excitement, which I can see, but I guess they kind of had a paper-thin plot that was kind of stretched out for all the action. So I guess when we actually dive into thoughts, we'll get more into that. But
without actually seeing the original series, and Shane can maybe back this up, I have a feeling that it seems to me like they just kind of cut to the bare bones action plot, and probably in between they probably would have had a lot more like dialogue and maybe like talking
there's
about
a lot of talking in it.
Yeah,
more
characterizations.
It's like Dragon Ball Z that way. It's like, well, like you guys said earlier, it's like Dragon Ball Z, but it's like, the comedy's different. Oh,
yes,
the comedy's...
the comedy's different and somewhat non-existent for the most part.
Yes. Well,
and plus the gore and... Well, see, you can't really say the violence is ramped up to 10, because obviously, like, in Dragon Ball Z, the entire planet Earth dies from Boo and things like that. But obviously there's not enough gore.
Constantly
Or there's not as much gore.
People are getting
eaten.
In
this show, you
chocolate.
get to, like, organs and stuff.
organs and stuff ripped off. Well, as I was reading the wiki page, I guess this will be our trivia and tidbits because I don't really know much about this other than this is one of the more notorious 80s animes.
Oh, this is also influenced by Mad Max.
Yeah, I could definitely see this is definitely a post-apocalyptic anime. You can definitely see the influence of Mad Max and Escape from New York, but mainly Mad Max, especially when it had the biker gang chasing the two kids down. And I guess word of warning real fast. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm going to definitely butcher some names, as you can already see.
Oh,
with the
you've already had
the Shonen, Shogun, Jump, and Japanese is not my any language, so I'm probably going to mess up everybody's name.
I think it's forgivable.
So, but yeah, it's definitely a post-apocalyptic show. But one thing that was kind of interesting reading the wiki page was, it pretty much the idea came from, wanting to do a whole show where, you attack people based on their pressure points and they explode. And, if you use that as the bare minimum, I can see how that's the whole basis of the show. But that's really about it. But that's what they were saying. Like, that was the original idea when they were, getting ready to start writing it for Shonen Jump and start posting the chapters. And then, of course, like anything that's popular, they'll start an anime series. And I guess it was popular enough to warrant a condensed movie version. So, and there's also the 1995, which like I said, I've seen it once, but I didn't know what it was. But we'll definitely have to track that one down. The 95 American live-action movie, A Fist of North Star with Gary Daniels. Is that a movie that you guys would be interested in watching after seeing this one?
Well,
sure.
Honestly, I think so, mainly just because...
I pretty much watched everything else and read the manga, so I might as well finish it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was just going to say that I think that, like, after what we just witnessed, I'm just trying to wrap my head around a 90s American adaptation, because I'm thinking back to, like, Dragon Ball Evolution and how bad that was screwed up, and just thinking, like, do they screw it up just as much in different ways, or is it like a faithful adaptation? If it was a faithful adaptation, how was it even shown in theaters? You know what I mean?
There's a lovely little rating called the NC-17.
Is that what it was rated?
No, it's I think it's like PG or R, but don't quote me. So I guess that's kind of about the only stuff I know of trivia, other than there's a prequel series, Fist of the Blue Sky, which is kind of a silly title. It sounds more like a romantic parody of it, but Fist of the Blue Sky. But so that's really about it with the tidbits. I know it's a very popular anime, and it is one of the more notorious ones. It's up there with I guess the controversial animes of the 80s that were supposed to corrupt the youth's mind.
This is definitely corrupting.
It's right up there with, like, I saw a list. I forget which book it was, but there was a list when I was in high school. I read, I think it was the Samurai. Oh God, what was it called? Something like Art of the Samurai Dragon or something. But it was an anime book talking about the history of anime, and they were listing a list of the notorious 80s. Like the super ultra violent 80s animes, and one of them was this Fist of North Star. Another one was Akira, and then
Akira sucked.
And well, Akira's got its moments. That one was a huge manga condensed into a movie where they didn't bother explaining anything. That's like a 10-hour movie cut down to an hour and a half. So it's like whoa. And then, of course, another one was like Legend of the Overfiend, which is
We're really talking about this one.
The hentai one. Well, it's not really a hentai. It's more of a horror anime with lots and lots of sex, and it also has the typical point. And golden. Yeah, it's got lightsaber penis, which I'm overselling this movie.
I think the people listening to this think we're exaggerating, but no, we're not exaggerating.
Yeah, it's a
weird.
Radioactive penis, and the head.
Well, it's not radioactive.
Yeah, the head of the bat. I forget what the character's name is, but he's one of the main characters, and he's like a
sex pervert.
Well, no, there's one who's a sex pervert, and then there's the basketball star who starts off by punching the sex pervert who's spying on the women in the locker room. And he licks the dude's nosebleed.
For some reason.
And he's just like, ah. And then later on, he's having an orgy at his house. And the girls are like, oh no, your penis is glowing. And anyway, so Legend of Overfiend, that's a
huge sidetrack, but
that's way more notorious than this. But I guess diving into the general discussion, what are y'all's going back to Fist of the North Star, it is very violent. I'm not very prudish towards this kind of stuff, but it was interesting seeing just that much, arterial spray and arm ripping off and face explosions in 90 minutes. So, I guess I'll open up the floor for just general discussions on Fist of the North Star.
Well, I do have strong opinions about gore, and usually my thing is that I know what I like and what I don't like, but I know it when I see it. And this kind of piqued my radar in some areas, but I think there was something about Fist of the North Star that made it almost forgivable, just because it's so exaggerated to the point where it almost becomes laughable. And I know and I know, you Miller, you like to say a lot that everything you watch is pretty much that way for you when it comes to gore. That doesn't always apply for me, but I think in this particular movie it kind of did. Not that I'm not necessarily saying that I liked it, the gore, but it's just the way that, just for example, when the main last henchman before the end, he's fighting Ray, and then he's just like, "What? You're not done fighting me?" And then he just explodes. It's just people just start exploding. Their heads explode from a punch, and it's that's so over the top that it becomes.
It does become comical.
In some ways. Well, I guess I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Well, I guess getting back to the violence part. The show was pretty much conceived as a pressure point show where that was the main gist of it. I guess trying to figure out, I guess we better dive in a little bit to plot stuff real fast before we continue the conversation.
What plot stuff? There's no.
No, there is a plot. there's the whole.
Oh yeah, Yuria gets captured.
There's 10 fights in the show. Now, of course, I guess to strip it down to its bare minimums, there is. How would you best describe? Because there's the North and there's the South Star, and.
Describe what?
They must not fight.
The plot, the
the
mythology of the series.
Well, how about this? Let me do it since I'm a newbie, and I'll try to explain as best I can from just based on this one movie. Okay.
Because I was definitely getting confused with the characters, because since I had not seen a lot of the show recently, there was a lot of characters showing up, like the big fat elephant guy who's just like, "Oh, my precious flesh," and he's like, "I'm so fat." And it's
he shows in the TV show too.
There were so many characters being shown, and I guess because they were trying to squeeze in a fight scene every 10 seconds.
What bothers me the most is that
10 minutes.
Toki wasn't in it, Kenshiro's brother, and he's way more important than Jaggy ever was. Jaggy showed up for a few episodes and died. Toki was in almost the whole entire show. They didn't even mention him.
Yeah. Well, I guess that was one of the bystanders that got kind of cut out for the movie adaptation. But yes,
okay,
AJ,
so
since you're the newest
let me try
one.
and see if I can sum it up, and maybe if I get anything majorly wrong, Shane can come in correctly.
I'll try.
Okay, so there's there's the Fist of the North Star and the Fist of the South Star, and they must never attack. They must never attack each other.
That's right.
There's Kenshiro and Shin. And they used to be friends, but now they're not friends because of Shin wants Yuria.
Pussy?
Yeah, wants Yuria, his lover.
Yeah.
And apparently it's this whole feud between them is caused by Jaggy, who is Kenshiro's brother, but he also has another brother named Rao, or he's later called Keno.
Yeah, a.k.a. Keno.
And basically, once Kenshiro is almost killed and thrown over a cliff by Jaggy, and then he later gets revived, and he kind of goes on a quest to save Yuria from Shin, and then later from Keno, and along the way he ends up killing multiple people, killing Jaggy, killing basically everyone who stands in his way until he can find Yuria, and that's basically the plot. And there's 10 battles, 10 battles.
The trailer does not want you to forget there was 10 epic battles, and there's going to be a battle every 10 minutes in this movie, which we should have going into that, I might have to rewatch the movie and actually time it out. Like, oh, wait a minute, it's almost been 11 minutes. Where's that other fight at? You know.
I bet they keep their promise.
So, I mean...
At least it felt like it.
I guess that's one good thing about the movie is, you know, if that's a really good plot description, you actually probably understood more of it than me, because there's some points where I was just like, oh, there's another character. What's going on right now? You know, condensing how many episodes do you say, Shane? I know at least a couple. I know more than 100 episodes.
I think including the second series, it's like 150.
So condensing 150 episodes down to...
But really, this is pretty much only the first season of it, which is like 28 probably.
Mm-hmm. So this is
still pretty hard for
an hour and 50 minutes. I mean, hour and 50 minutes, under 2 hours, that's a lot of stuff crammed-packed into it. I guess for this one, it's a little harder to say, you know, is it good or is it bad? My overall impression is, I mean, it's kind of the best and the worst of 80s anime. It's gorgeous. It's also stereotypically over the top and violent, so it offers something that you couldn't get from American cartoons.
Oh yeah.
It's not really too explicit sexually though, because there's that one scene where
you see her boobs,
where she just was just like, "I'm alive again," and for no reason other than I guess they needed some TNA in the movie. She just rips her shirt off. She's like, "Ah!" So
I'm just thinking though, since you brought that up about American cartoons, I'm just thinking like, you know, the 80s Disney movies, not the 90s Disney movies, but well, you can almost include the 90s Disney movies, but just like think of the content in those, like The Little Mermaid and like Oliver and Company was 1989. And it's just like this movie was made less than a decade before those movies, and just seeing the difference of what can be or what can even be popular in the different countries. Yeah, you know, like people outside the United States are sometimes like, oh, why is the United States so violent? Blah blah blah. But it's like, have you seen Japanese anime?
Well,
like,
that's the thing about, like, you know, Japanese cartoons is they are a little more I would definitely say melodramatic. That's one thing that kind of, depending on anyone who's getting into anime, is, you know, their tolerance for melodrama. It's not as bad as like Bollywood, where it's like to the highest intensity of melodrama. But you know, with this one, I mean, one thing you're saying, you know, American cartoons, like, well, if you compare this to even something like, you know, I guess action shows from the States, you know, something like, you know, He-Man or
G.I. Joe.
Or G.I. Joe, where it's like they're using laser guns. There's not actually any like actual feeling of casualties to what's going on. This one was definitely in your face.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or like Thundercats.
Or Thundercats, which, you know, this kind of got to Thundercats. I mean, Thundercats kind of got to a more traditional like anime level, but
I always used to think that Thundercats was an anime. Like, it just seems so much like it.
So I guess moving on to like actual like points of topics. So I guess we kind of covered the violence. I'm not really opposed to the violence. I like the kind of colorful things they did.
The violence.
The thing is, it's very stylized. It's very traditional, like Japanese
speaking
cinema.
of violence, you guys want to talk about the uncensored scenes?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
Scenes, excuse me.
You know, I liked the cutting, like, to like the negative lighting or turning the blood white for effect and doing all those weird little things. I know recently they did something like that with like Kill Bill, where it switches to black and white to kind of cut down the effect, so it's not as, you know, it's not as easy to censor.
They did similar things here.
Yeah, so they did that a lot. But I guess that's one interesting thing. Did you, I guess, you know, we talk about the violence, but apparently this was so violent that it was even controversial in Japan, and they had to cut down some stuff. Because the video quality, we were watching the Eastern Star DVD, and it was quite noticeable when we got to the deleted scenes, because they didn't even bother like remastering the deleted scenes.
Yeah, it was pretty jarring, honestly, sometimes, but...
I mean, did you ever notice, Shane, I mean, since you've seen the show, did you ever notice these weird jarring, you know, the weird jarring, like, cutscenes and stuff?
They were very obvious.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I guess dive into, like, you know, noticing the cutscenes. Have you ever noticed them before? Like, just how it jumps from, like, high definition to, like, third generation bootleg.
They're very obvious. Anyone who's not blind will obviously seen them.
Yeah, like there was a couple where it's like, oh man, like how is this not as gory as the, the guy who looks like the king of Atlantis cutting people in the middle, and the Iron Dude.
I think the funny thing about the violence in this one though is just how easily it happens, because it's one of those things like it's not just like it's not a realistic violence where people are getting shot by things like you're not gonna be killed this way in real life. You can't just punch someone and then their head will not explode.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Or you can't just cut people or chop people with your hand and then they just are cut into pieces like that. It's a very fantasy way of killing people.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing is it seems almost like it's like a sword and sandal movie at some points, or it feels like a Conan movie or Hercules movie where it's so stripped back because it's post-apocalyptic. Did you guys get that vibe, or am I kind of just pulling that one? Because it felt so larger than life that it almost felt like a Peplum or a sword and sandal movie where it's like, oh look, there's Conan. Like it was that exaggerated.
Well, I definitely think I definitely think it can be like a lone hero,
almost like a spaghetti western in some ways.
Oh yeah, kind of. Well, yeah, it's like if you compare it to like Trigun, if you want to go the western route, it's almost like he's like a more serious Vash the Stampede who's just like so much better than everyone he's coming up against, and is able to, instead of using guns, he's just using his Fist of the North Star to chop people and make their heads explode by punching them.
And sometimes just flicking people, because there's that one scene where he first comes to the rescue and he's still got his like Moses beard and his cape and stuff, and people are coming at him. He's just like, and they're just flying up in the air and exploding right behind him.
Yeah,
and then of course there's that scene where he throws the guy's getting ready to step on the girl. He throws like a piece of concrete and it hits him right in the mouth, and he's just like chomping down. And
you force fed me this rock.
You force fed me this rock. What? So I mean, we kind of hit on the violence, hit on the censorship. I mean, there's not really a lot of subtlety in plot because it did seem stripped down.
Subtlety is not this.
It's not the Fist of North Star strong suit there, but so I guess Shane, I mean, since you've seen the show, I guess bringing up another point is the whole condensing issue. When you're since you've seen the show and you've seen the movie, you've seen all the show and you've seen the movie. Were you feeling like, other than the left out fourth brother, was there anything you noticed you kind of disliked about everything being condensed, or didn't really bug you that much?
I wouldn't say I disliked it. It was interesting. This movie's basically for someone who hasn't watched 150 episodes. Might get them started on it, make them turn them into fanboys, so they may start on it, because 150 episodes can be really. I'll explain this.
Tiresome to get through.
Or no. If you see a series that you know is 150 episodes, you're gonna be like, oh, I want to. If I watch a show, I want to finish it.
Yeah.
This seems kind of long, so yeah.
Right.
But this movie, if I watch this movie, it's only 1 hour and 50 minutes. Be like, oh, it's really good, so I could probably get through it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is, interesting, but I mean, was there anything you felt looking back on the show, anything you felt left out, or?
Well, I mean, you mentioned, for example, you mentioned that Toki is missing, who I don't know who that character is, because I did, but it's just was there anything that just made you mad that it wasn't included?
I mean, I wasn't mad, just they just changed, everything's changed, really. But
yeah.
It's kind of similar, same characters. Some of the scenarios are similar, but pretty much everything's pretty much different.
Wait, actually, I have one question for you. So, did they actually use any clips from the show?
No.
Or was it all? So it was all original animation.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess that's how they were able to edit out a character like Toki, because if he was in if it's basically the same scenario.
They use whiteout.
Yeah, they use whiteout.
They digitally removed him out of the background. Okay.
Well, it was back in the 80s, so they used whiteout.
They used the whiteout. And then another thing is, going into the, 80s. I mean, a lot of it, I could kind of take it for granted that, oh, this is, it's the 80s, it's condensed. So I did enjoy the action. I think the fight scenes themselves were good, and I guess my only nitpick with the movie is, since it was condensed, I felt like they didn't really explain some of the stuff very thoroughly. I mean, I'm glad they did the flashback with the brother who's, the Darth Vader brother. Jaggy, who somehow is one of the only people who knows how to master, like, the anti-pressure point, where he can actually pressure point it back in.
Well, the main reason why he can do that is because he's also been taught Hoko Shinken. Rao can do that too, but he just didn't need to because he was better than Kenshiro, so he didn't need to.
So Jaggy, he's I don't know, he's interesting villain, and that's the thing, is it feels very episodic. So it's kind of funny that it's a movie adaptation of a TV show, because it did feel episodic because they're having to show so much.
It's like watching a very long episode of the show.
Yeah, with a very definitive ending where it's like, towards the end, you're not sure. It's like, oh man, is he like dead? Is this his dream of paradise, or did he really find a promised land in the middle of the jungle?
Found the Great Valley.
I mean, the desert, middle of the desert, not the jungle. What? So,
well, I will give the movie one credit. The fact that, whether it was 28 episodes or however many episodes they were condensing it from, at least they were able to give a somewhat coherent story for a complete newbie, so I wasn't completely lost. Like, I could definitely tell that things had to be shortened, and that, I'm not getting a whole lot. I'm getting this plot, but I'm not getting a whole lot of depth from it.
Yeah.
I understood that, but at least it was good enough to hold my attention and trail me along through the plot without getting lost or without getting frustrated.
Yeah. And that's kind of, that's a very true statement. Now, this is kind of an observation I made, and I guess you can, since you guys have seen a bunch of anime movies too, is it me, or does Japan do something that America doesn't really do? They will release a movie adaptation of a TV show, and they'll retell the same arc, but just on the big screen. Kind of like, I don't really see this happen in a lot of American movies. I mean, I know they do the reboots and the constant origin stories with, like, comic book movies. But it seems like with Japan, since in the 80s their film industry was so dominated by anime, the one thing I don't really notice us doing as Americans is we don't really retell TV shows in movie form like that. We usually do sequels or do new original stories, but it seemed like with this movie, Fist of the North Star, and like Galaxy, 999 or Dragon Ball, it seems like there's a lot of these anime adaptation movies where they just retell the TV show, and it's just an odd thing that I just don't see. I mean, do you see the benefit in that, or does that seem kind of cheap? Or is it a good way to introduce new fans, like we were telling, about AJ,
Well, like I just said, like a few minutes ago, if you were listening, it's a good way to make new fans of the show. Short adaptation for the TV series. Because, like I said, the TV show can be like seem too long for someone who's like a casual watcher, and like they may be turned off from it because it's so long, and they may not like it. So. But this movie's like an hour and 50 minutes, so they're like, I'll watch it. Be like, if it's any good, I may watch the TV series. So.
Yeah. I had a similar experience when watching Galaxy Express 999, and I had never seen an episode of that show, and I watched the movie and I was pretty hooked, and now I want to see a new Galaxy Express 999. But I'm just saying, like, have you guys ever like noticed that? Is that something that?
I mean, as you've been saying this, I've been trying to think of an American series that's done something like that, but I don't think I can really think of anything. I mean, I would say it might be like American sensibilities of needing everything to be new and needing everything to be proving its worth on the market. I think Japan can be more have a mentality of like not necessarily needing things to be new. I mean, it's kind of the same thing of like, they don't really do giant they don't really like reboot Mario. Like they don't radically change it. They just kind of remake the same basic formula of the games over and over and over again. And it's kind of the same in Japan. Like they're not gonna. I mean, with the exception of Digimon Adventure Tribe, is probably the only thing I can think of right now that actually like radically change the art style. But usually you don't find too many remakes where they just like radically change a lot of things. And for like Fist of the North Star, it's not like they sat down and said, okay, well, we have this TV show, now let's do something, you know, radically different with it. Instead, they kind of went the more conservative route, and I think Japan can tend to be more conservative with its properties like that, and not do too many new things like Americans always are trying to innovate in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess moving on to some more, technical aspects of the show. One thing that I really enjoyed, and I know one thing that you really enjoyed, Shane, was the soundtrack to the
the Heart of Madness.
The Heart of Madness, and you know,
you should include a clip of that.
I will definitely have to include the music. Holy crap, like, there is no way you could not figure out that this show was made in the 80s, because that is...
80s classic music.
It's seriously turned into, like, Cobra or Rocky IV, where it just goes into a full-on montage right at that final boss. Where, you know... Because that's what it was. He kind of, like, was the final boss. He's like, I will not get off my horse until I fight, you know. You know, he's charging the music. It's like a music video, pretty much. It keeps cutting to, what was the girlfriend's name? Yuria. When she's up on the cross, she's just like, Ken! And keeps, like, intercutting and, you know, all that. So the music was definitely good. And the actual fight music was really good as well. Are you kind of a fan of anime soundtracks, or does this one kind of stand out because of its 80s-ness?
Anime soundtracks.
What? Can you repeat that one more time for the audience?
Sorry, I was yawning and talking. Yes, I love anime soundtracks. Like, I don't know how many times I've gone on YouTube just to listen to Japanese music, so... Japanese music's way okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, what did you think of the music, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was quite good. I mean, it definitely had that unique 80s feel to it, and I thought that was great. It kind of goes in line with... like, I think that kind of like the metal-ish 80s music, like I think it goes with so many of these type of movies. So I thought it was a perfect fit for it.
Okay, makes sense. Now I guess before we get into the good stuff, I didn't really have a lot of negatives to say about the movie, but is there anything that we really disliked about the movie other than? I guess we've kind of hit on the violence, but was there anything that you guys disliked about the movie?
Well, this isn't necessarily something that is terrible or anything, but I found like the character designs got really kind of samey and boring. Like literally every man is shaped the same, the exact same. Yeah. Like they're not like they all have the exact same body except for some are. Well, there's one overweight character. And there's one child, and then the rest all look exactly the same. Like, there's no...
Well, that's one thing I was going to bring up, because I was going to say favorite characters, but I was going to kind of say that was... Like, I got really confused, because I looked down once to look up what the issue was with the video quality, why it kept changing, and I look up and I'm like, oh, that's a new character? Is that the same character? Did he get a facelift? Like there's the characters are so similar.
All they have to go. The only real difference is a slight difference in their face. Really, it's their hair. That's about all you can really.
Yeah, and the giant eyebrows. That's one thing that with anime styles.
Eyebrows.
I have to probably nitpick. Is just like I didn't like the huge eyebrows. I get it. I mean, maybe he's like Middle Eastern or something, or different type, or there's some reason he has the big eyebrows. But just, dear Lord. Of all the things to be exaggerated, like, give him a crazy mustache, not jumbo eyebrows. I'm looking at the TV screen right now, and I'm just like, what in the world? So, that's kind of like the sameness with characters, and, Yeah.
The thing I don't like about it is like I watched the TV series first, and when I thought it was a movie, I was like, oh my god, it's probably like a sequel or I don't know, a prequel or something that we didn't see. It's basically the same old shit.
It's the same old shit.
It's basically they took a lot of stuff from the first season. It changed it around a little bit, changed certain scenes, but it's basically the exact same.
Yeah.
Essentially. I would have preferred like a new villain or something, because Rao was in it, already in the TV series, and Jaggy was in the TV series. So it didn't really add anything new for me.
Did Jaggy... I know that I saw an episode of Jaggy with his whole, like, mummy face, where he has the bandages around his face. Was the whole, like, Darth Vader, like, wearing the mask thing part of the series? Yeah. Okay, that was part of the series. You know, and that's another interesting thing with, like, characters. I mean, there was a lot, and because of the condensedness of this movie, it's hard to keep up with. One huge difference that I noticed with, like, Japanese and American movies is, usually Japanese movies have way more characters and way more complicated plots, so it was just kind of like, this one didn't have a complicated plot, but it's just like all the characters, and then
girl gets kidnapped. I kill everything.
Yeah, the plot's not that complicated, but, you know, going to what AJ was saying, like, having the character designs be so generic and similar, it was hard to keep up with a lot of people, so, any more badness?
There's one other thing I was going to say, but now I think I forgot it.
Okay, well, I'll go, and if you remember, you can chime back in. You know, I've kind of said my piece on it, so any favorite characters?
In this movie, or
from this movie? Not in general. I like Superman.
I know. I
like Superman a lot.
No, I'm just from the TV series, but I guess come back to me. Ask him first.
Come back to. Oh man, we might have to edit out this chunk real fast. Phrasing. Anyway, my favorite characters. I enjoyed the kids, even though the little girl was kind of creepy. Because she's just like, oh, kid.
And of course, they don't explain
her superpowers,
or whatever she can do, like her ability to summon Kenshiro.
I'm pretty sure they added that just for the movie for some weird reason. They wasn't in the TV series.
Instead of getting a new villain, you get a new power for the little girl.
Oh wow! The power she used like 3 times just to call Ken.
You know, if I had to predict, I think it could have been for plot expediency, because I don't know how it happened in the original show, but. You know, whatever summoned him to that area in the actual show they could have been wildly different. But for this, they're just like, well, let's just have the little girl just summon him, and that's we just need to get the main character into a certain spot.
You get from here to here now. I mean,
he can't teleport like Goku from Dragon Ball Z, so we gotta keep him going. You know,
speaking of Dragon Ball Z, Toriyama got some inspiration from this. Mainly in the fact that with near the end when they were fighting with the auras and they were flying, and I think that's probably undeniable just because of, according to Wikipedia, the manga first started in 1983, which was 2 years before Toriyama started Dragon Ball. But of course, Dragon Ball didn't have like the auras and stuff. That wasn't even until Dragon Ball Z when people started getting auras and they started flying a lot more. And so
Z ripped this off, basically.
Yeah, so, I mean, Z pretty much, it seems that Z ripped this off, but, I would still like to say that Goku would probably win in a fight with him.
Well, I don't know.
Press a planet, okay?
His eyebrows.
Goku can.
Goku can. I thought you were saying that Kenshiro can.
Kenshiro!
Well, I wouldn't necessarily put it past him, because, I mean, obviously he does a lot of, some pretty amazing feats in this, but I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, there is the connection to Dragon Ball. I think they're different enough where you can't really, I could see where Toriyama got some inspiration from the super popular.
I think probably the main thing is, and of course, maybe Fist of the North Star wasn't the first to do this either, but just kind of the idea of like martial artists who have more or less otherworldly powers, super powers more or less.
But what about Speed Racer?
What?
No, I'm kidding.
What, does Speed Racer have martial arts skills?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I didn't remember.
I was trying to think of like an old anime to kind of trump you, but no, Speed Racer does not have any like superpowers.
I mean, obviously, Astro Boy was a robot, and so that's kind of why he could fly and stuff like
Golden
that.
Bat. Golden Bat did things. And
okay.
Anyway,
That
back
was
to
Golden
back
Bat.
to your. Oh, Golden Bat's awesome. We'll have to, if I can get a copy of the Saint Chiba movie, we'll have to watch it. It's pretty much like a superhero, insane superhero from Japan, and it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just kind of seems like this was like the inspiration for Dragon Ball Z in the sense of having Dragon Ball Z in particular, not necessarily just Dragon Ball, because I mean, Dragon Ball was just a kind of more of an adventure series, and also martial arts series. But this was kind of more of like two, badass characters going up against each other, martial arts fighting with supernatural abilities, the auras. The only thing that was missing in this was ki blasts and kamehamehas. That was like the only thing that was
they
missing.
had ki blasts actually.
They kind of had like similar themes to ki blasts, but I mean,
what would you call it? Ki blast.
Yeah, I'd say that. About the only thing I could say that's similar is instead of having like a fountain of energy, there's like fountain of blood. Because that last fight, I have to admire just how intense they kept it. Where the two characters they're fighting, and every orifice on their body is shooting blood, and they're just like, they finally, it's almost a draw at the end. Which, I think to have a major movie based on a TV show, to have an ending where it's kind of ubiquitous and the hero doesn't actually win, that's pretty damn ballsy, in my opinion.
I definitely think so. I mean, it kind of, but of course, at the same time, I think it's almost kind of like the, of course, obviously, Pokemon came out a lot later. But from my childhood, it's just like, well, Ash can never win the Pokemon tournament because then the show will have to end because he's become a Pokemon master. So we gotta have him lose at like the fourth round, the third round, or whatever, so he can continue on. And of course, if this had several seasons later, we need Kenshiro to not quite win, and
or find a bigger opponent to be the ultimate master.
Because he does beat. Oh, I don't want to spoil it.
Well, yeah, we'll get to more of the TV show. We dive into it. I definitely do want to rewatch more of the show now after watching, because it was a fun one. I have a soft.
have the whole show.
Yeah, you'll have to bring it up. We'll have to marathon some. I have a soft spot for 80s anime, and I guess that kind of brings to my closing statements. I'm just a fan of this era of anime. I know technically anime kind of matured and got better as it went on into the 90s and the early 2000s, and what's out now isn't really bad. I just don't keep up with it. But I've always had a soft spot for 80s anime, especially stuff like this. Of course, one of my favorites, Vampire Hunter D, which has got some problems, but I like it. Urusei Yatsura, the Simpsons of Japan. I'm into.
I almost finished that show. I'm on my 100th episode.
Isn't it good?
Yes, I got like 90 more to go.
I love it. Like, there's an episode of the giant penguin just because we needed a giant penguin. So I guess,
it got overnutrition or whatever.
The overnutrition penguin. Anyway, to get back on the topic. So I guess, you're way more of an otaku and an anime fan than I am, Shane. How would you fit Fist of the North Star into your anime fandom? Where does it sit? Is this kind of more the anime style you tend to go to, or do you prefer more of the newer stuff? Or explain.
I watch whatever, dude. I watch, seriously, if you recommend anime, I'll be like, alright, I'll watch it. I don't even research or anything.
You just go into it blind?
Yeah, pretty much. Because you never know what you'll like until you watch it. So I'll give anything a chance, really.
Anime is like a box of chocolates.
You never know a dirty secret of filler you're gonna get. And
this one is probably a must-watch, because I just love Fist of the North Star, obviously. Because I told you before, I played the games, I watched the manga, read the manga. Watched the TV series all the way to the end, so...
And now you want to see the live-action American movie?
Kinda.
It'll ruin your childhood.
Yeah, we might have to save that for a special event. We'll definitely have to do an episode on the live-action movie.
I gotta say one other thing of trivia. I guess if anyone knows of any parodies of or any references of Fist of the North Star, I do know one in particular. Basically, the series
I know what you're going with
is basically like a parody of a Fist of the North Star because of the main character Bobobo. He has his Fist of the Nose hair, and he uses that to fight his enemies. And of course, there's many other fists, like Jelly. The character Jelly Jiggler has Fist of the Wobble Wobble, and and there's like Gasser has like Fist of the gas can or something like that. Like, and it's just. There's just so many, and so basically Fist of the blank, and they do that all throughout the show. So it's, and of course it's also kind of exaggerated in the same, or it's also parody in the same way because of, it's basically fighting different characters, and even Bobo's character design, he pretty much looks like a parody of a Fist of the North Star character, because he's shaped like them.
But with a giant afro.
But that's
not the terrible... I would prefer an afro to those eyebrows. Maybe I'm just prejudiced towards eyebrows. I don't know what it is. So I guess that leads to you, AJ. Like, now that you've seen this movie, are you interested in watching more? Does this kind of... this might be a controversial question, but does this have what you look for in anime, or no, or yes, or...
Well, I do think that if I had slightly different tastes, this might be something I'd want to watch all the way through. At this point, I'm not really super interested in watching the entire show. No offense, Shane. I'm sure it's great, but...
Get out. No one loves you.
What is this?
Like, I'm just kind of thinking, I think I probably could. Maybe I'll save it for later. Because they're really, the gore isn't my favorite, but it's not, it wasn't anything too offensive because of the way it was presented wasn't too much for me.
I'm just sitting there looking is my fly head done? Unbelievable.
I'm sitting there and you're just like, what is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything.
But anyway, but I definitely think this was worth watching to kind of better understand 80s anime, to get that feel for 80s anime, and I do want to watch more anime from this era in general, whether or not, because for me, the way I watch anime, if I am gonna watch, I'm gonna commit to it, and I am gonna watch the whole thing, and I am going to try to make it an enjoyable experience. So, for this particular show, I don't think it's quite impressed me enough to warrant a full watching just yet. But, but maybe some more episodes might convince me later, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to show you this one. This is another one that, it's really melodramatic and it does condense a lot. And
what is it?
Since I haven't seen all of Galaxy 999, I might be confused, but it's the origin story of one of the main characters, Captain Harlock. But this would be another good 80s anime to watch. It's a movie, but...
Yeah, really Captain Harlock and those guys.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I definitely want to explore more. I guess one last little tangent before I go to, and I guess what you guys will think is, I don't have a strong... attraction to Fist of the North Star. I do enjoy it. It has a lot of things I enjoy about 80s anime. It's almost shameless with its level of violence. It's not, it's unapologetic about its cheese. I love the hairstyle, love the music, and one thing that I miss about modern anime is I just miss the rough around the edges, hand drawn, animation style. So, is that something you guys notice when you're watching newer shows? Do you ever miss the hand drawn, or am I just kind of more picky when it comes to that?
Well, I know that there's still a lot of traditional animation in anime, but of course you are right. If you watch Battle of Gods, or not Battle of Gods, well, it isn't Battle of Gods, but it's also a revival of F, where they have Frieza's soldiers are CG animated while the rest aren't, and someone in the Team 4-star review, they compared it to PS3 era graphics for the CGI, and it's true, they look like they came from the video game. It looks like the hand-drawn animated people are interacting with the cel-shaded versions of the characters in the video games. And it's like, what's going on? Like, why are they doing this? Is it cheaper this way? Is it, I don't get it. But yeah, Fist of the North Star definitely had that art style where, obviously everything is hand-drawn, and obviously everything is, very, like, every pencil you can see is etched into the character.
Disappearing, reappearing nipples, blood stains that randomly show up and go away. All those little artifacts that, I enjoy about it. So I guess, that's kind of me wrapping it up. I did enjoy it. I appreciate, its style. We watched this movie in Japanese, so there was a lot of, just soaking up the culture.
Nani?
Nani? Nani? What? So that was a lot of fun. We'll definitely have to cover, more 80s anime as we go on.
No, I was just gonna say that Kenshiro's voice, his normal voice is really deep, but then he gets really high pitched.
But that's one thing I want to say. Is since we watched it in Japanese, I don't really have a trailer to add to this episode or anything else because everything's in Japanese. It won't really have as much impact, as other audio clips we could play. But but I really enjoyed it. I guess would everyone here recommend it? Yeah. I'm getting a thumbs up.
Not to every.
But I did a thumbs up.
Yeah, I was gonna say no one could see your invisible thumbs up, but
I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but
we need to show this to a Catholic school.
But I definitely think, yeah, exactly, that's the perfect audience. But I definitely think
who needs Bob the Builder? We got this
for anime fans. I think that it's good for an anime education. If you want to understand anime throughout the ages, you definitely need to watch this because it quite easily encapsulates an era and puts all its tropes together. And you can just watch this and just kind of like you kind of get it. Like this is what every other anime was like in some way. It has these same elements: the gore, the animation style, the strange characters, the strange plot lines, like things that make no sense, things that make little sense, and all the crazy fights. And it's just in many ways when you combine all those elements together, it is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess since we're getting ready to log off, I definitely think we'll have to cover more 80s anime. I know another one of my favorites is Lock the Superman. That one's a lot of fun. How do you say that title over there?
Arcadia of my youth.
I Lock the Superman, Arcadia of my youth, which is the
Dragon
Captain
Ball
Harlock
Z?
movie. Definitely Dragon Ball Z. At some point, I would like to go through and rewatch all the Dragon Ball Z movies with you guys on the podcast format. So I guess, kind of as a way to sign off, speaking of, if anyone who's listening to this episode has a favorite anime movie, because it's a little easier to watch a movie than a TV series. If you guys have like a favorite anime movie you want us to cover on the podcast, send us
a recommendation.
Send us some feedback on
we don't care about you.
We're listening to the listeners.
I'm the anime guy, damn it.
So send anyway. So I guess kind of like a segue out, for any of the listeners who might be tuning into this who are anime fans, if you guys have like a favorite anime movie you guys would like us to cover on the podcast, especially one in that 80s time frame, definitely let us know. Leave us some feedback down below, on when we post this to YouTube in the comments, or send us an email or anything, to our Facebook page at Apologize to the Podcast on Facebook, or Apologize to the Podcast 1 on Yahoo.com. And
Did you watch
feedback? Oh my. Any recommendations from you, AJ?
Of anime movies?
Of anime movies?
Just so you know, folks, we're going to be watching the Gurren Lagann movies at some point.
What about
Gurren
the Digimon
Lagann
movie?
And the Digimon movie.
So yeah, this might just turn into an anime podcast at some point. Who knows?
Maybe.
So I guess before we get ready to sign off, I guess the best way to end this episode with us doing Kenjiro's infamous body puncture finger thing. So AJ, hurry over here.
Fingered.
Freddy got fingered. So I guess to kind of end this episode, we'll do the contact information. So like I was saying, there's the Facebook page, there's the email. You can send us, comments on the YouTube videos on Jalaman, the YouTube page.
And follow me on Twitch and give me your money.
And you can follow Shane on Twitch. So I
And
guess
give me your money.
and give him all your money. And so I guess signing off, we'll do our best impressions of Kenjiro's famous strike. But I guess for contact information, Shane, where can they find you?
Sonoski_Otaku on Twitch.tv. It's spelled SONAZKI_OTAKU. I know I spelled that really quickly, but whatever.
They'll figure it out. Okay.
And Sonoski on YouTube.
Okay. AJ, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on my YouTube channel. Don't Ignore Me. That's the name of the YouTube channel.
I'll try not to. And of course, you can find me, Tyler, at Jalaman22.
The channel you're watching on.
The channel you might be watching this on, or you might be listening to us on Podomatic or Facebook page or whatever. And we are going to start a blog and have the archive episodes back up, because now we're on episode 6, and it looks like we're going to keep going with this. So anyway, to sign off, are you guys all ready?
I'm ready.
Y'all ready? Are you ready, Shane?
No.
Okay, we're going to still do it anyway. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3.
Oh, we're doing that.
Yeah!
I thought we were saying goodbye. I was like, oh, what are you guys doing?
That's
Oh,
goodbye.
I can do mine now.
Do it.
I'm nervous.
Oh, Lord.
Something like that.
And on that note, we're going to leave you.
Apologize to the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to a commercial for Hello, this is the Doom Show. I'm Richard.
I'm Brad.
And on the podcast that is known as Hello, This is the Doom Show, we talk about giallo movies, slasher movies, horror movies.
We're going to interview Cary Grant live in the studio.
We're going to interview Lucio Fulci in the studio, folks. We're going to put Cary Grant in the studio with Lucio Fulci. It's the interview you never thought would happen.
I'm going to wear my Vincent Price flex.
I'm going to wear my Citizen Kane wristwatch and monocle. And now Brad is going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance in Portuguese. Brad, go.
I don't know Portuguese.
Go! Go!
Stop hitting me!
You're a natural actor.
Yeah.
You can listen to us at Hello Doomed